to Empowering Parents tonight. We're so excited that you joined us.
Yes, and especially after last week, we had quite a heavy session.
Yes, and just for those who have not seen it, please go back and watch the session that's all about manipulation. And just for those who do not know, we are still in the process of walking through our gardens, and we are still thinking about our children as trees and how we can best grow them and equip them to be the best trees that they can be.
Yeah.
But Rita, you know what? After last week, I think some of you might have felt like we did. All of a sudden, you notice manipulation in your home. And it can be either very depressing or very encouraging. But we received a wonderful question, which I think we need to just share on here. And this is somebody who asked, what is the difference between logical consequences, punishment, rewards, bribing, and manipulation? And this is such a good and key question, Rita. I think we need to give some attention to this. So I want to ask if you can maybe take us through it and just explain to us. Let's just first take it one by one. Logical consequence.
Yeah. You know why this is, just before we take it, why this is such a good question? Because what happens while we are parenting and discipling and, we're busy with our kids, especially after those sessions, I am also thinking, am I punishing my child now? Am I manipulating? Am I giving a consequence, or am I bribing now? What am I doing? So this is such a good question. Thank you so much. So logical consequence is actually something that will happen immediately after the misbehavior. Punishment is discussed before the time, and it's pulled through by the parent when the child didn't disobey. So it is a discussion before the time. Then a reward is also a discussion before the time, and it's also agreed on before the time what the reward will be, and then it is given to the child when they were obedient. And then the bribe, what a bribe is, that's
the $50 that you just give under the dinner table.
Yeah. So you go to a bribe when your child has already disobeyed and you're trying to get them to obey now. Then you pull out your bribing tools.
Okay.
And then the manipulating part is in the heat of the moment. You think of something that you can do to get this child to obey. So it's just in the heat of the moment. So maybe that gives a bit of a clarity. But so maybe I can just give an example.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when you say punishment, it's like when you will say to your child, if you do not put your washing in the basket, you will pay 5 rand to the helper for the effort she had to do to pick it up and put it in the washing basket. So that is a punishment. You are going to pay 5 rand when you do not do this. Then a reward is for every month that you put your washing in the basket, you can get a new piece of clothing. So if you did it for a whole month, you can get a new piece of clothing, and that's where you reward.
In our house, we will have a house full of nude children.
Yeah. And then a bribe is, if you put your washing in the washing basket, I will give you 5 rand. That's a bribe. Then manipulation is, if you don't put your washing in the washing basket within 5 minutes, you are never gonna get new clothes in this house.
Sure.
So that is just an example. I hope that can help you. Just understanding what is a punishment, a reward, a bribe, and when it gets to manipulation.
Sure. Thank you, Rita, just for clarifying that and answering that question.
Yeah.
And I think after last week, probably the question that we all have on our hearts is really, how do we get rid of manipulation in our house? We had a whole week now to identify it.
Yeah.
We had a whole week to really notice it and start seeing goodness. We are manipulating quite often, or we are being manipulated. So tonight will be all about how to really cut that off and how to get rid of manipulation in our home. So I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, Jaco, just I think what we need to realize is this is not an easy thing to do. If there was manipulation in our home, or there is, and we need to break it, it's not going to be moonshine and roses in our home for quite some time. So we must just be ready for it and prepare ourselves to not give up. We're going to persevere until that manipulation is broken. So
Yes.
what's going to happen is you're going to enter your child's heart through the front door and not through the back door like we used to through manipulation. And that can result in our children not thinking that we are kind, that we are helpful. They might think, what happened to my parents?
They might say that horrible sentence where they just shout at you and say, you are the worst mommy or the worst daddy we've ever seen.
But we need to keep going, because we're going to break manipulation in our home, and that is going to really reward us with a family that is growing, that a family that is blossoming. And at the end of it all, we do not want evil in our home. And like we said last week, manipulation is evil. It is from the enemy, and we will not tolerate it in our homes. So I keep that in mind whenever I think, okay, maybe I should just give in. I cannot handle the storm anymore. I think I do not want evil. God will be respected in this home. Yeah, so we don't want the evil in our home. So when we look at just a picture with manipulation, a nice picture that I thought of is a marionette. That's the puppets on the string and the marionette master. The parents are the marionette master, and the marionettes are our children. And so we have controlled a lot of that, and we kind of manipulate the puppet to do exactly what we want it to do, and also how we want them to do it, when we want them to move. So it's almost like there's no life in them, because they must just do what we want them to do. So
it's such a beautiful picture, Rita, and the reason I like it is we as parents do not want our children to actually be like marionettes. We want them to be able to stand firm and be strong on their own at the end of the day. So we do not actually want that, and that's what manipulation will cause. And then I think that just brings us to another question, Rita, and it's all about how do we now cut those strings of manipulation?
Yes, yeah. So we're going to look at 3 specific things, Jaco, and how do we break manipulation in our home. And the first one is we're going to address our child's need first. That's the first thing. The second thing is we're going to use better communication. And then the third thing, the last one, but certainly not the least, is we're going to resist temptation like we resist the enemy, like we resist evil. That's the 3 things that
so let's just discuss all of them now, those 3 things in detail. So the first thing is about the child's need.
Yes, yeah. So we always say prevention is better than cure. So if we focus on the need of our child, the needs of our child, we will be able to prevent manipulation, and we don't have to break it or cure it. So this is really going to help us in that. So needs can be like food. Okay, so we're going to make sure that the meal times are set so that they don't get hungry. Their body is in a rhythm, and so when they do get hungry, we can attend to it, but they won't easily get hungry because they have a rhythm in their body because of set meal times, set snack times. And then the other thing is sweets. It also falls under the food part, but also setting.
I always knew that sweets are actually foods.
So also with sweeties, when do you give them sweet stuff to eat? Not every day they're going to eat sweet stuff. You're going to limit it, and they're going to, when they do get sweets, they actually going to appreciate it. Yeah, so that's the first thing. They're not just going to be able to go get a bucket out of the cupboard full of sweets and just finish it whenever they want to, and just eat as much as they want to. It's going to be, and I've seen what sweet stuff does to our children. When we give them too much sweets, or just after a birthday party when they were overloaded with sweets, the behavior that comes out of there is shocking.
Well, the behavior is one thing. The nappies is a whole different thing. You know what I'm speaking about. You know.
Okay. Then the other need that they will have is attention. You know, what we usually see is the good kids, they are so easy to forget about. You know, we can easily forget about them. But, you know, when a child is naughty, we pay attention. We do something. And it made me think of when last did I just go and I just sat with my child without me having to discipline them, without me having to communicate something. Just go sit with them. Just give them, while they play Legos, while they build a puzzle, just sit with them.
Give them attention and fill that cup.
Yes.
You know, so that when the discipline comes, it's not an empty cup. Yeah. It's a cup that's full, and that really does make a difference.
Yeah. The other thing that's also a need in a child is it's touch. Now, every child does not need the same amount of touch. And that's where the temperaments come in. And that's why we need to know, is my child a rose bush, a pine tree, a boxwood, or a palm tree? Okay. So that we can speak about later. But touch is also a very important thing. And some of us as parents, we need to make effort for that. Like in our home, Yaku is the cuddling, kissy, huggy one. And I have to work on that. You know, it's something that doesn't come natural for me.
It's a conscious decision.
I have to make a decision. We have to build it into our family where mommy kisses and hugs, and well, it's not difficult when they are so cute. So yes. Okay, then another thing they have, a need that they have, is a rest and play. Okay, well, they need to rest. Okay. Because overtiredness is definitely going to result into manipulation. They are going to manipulate you, or you are going to manipulate them. So rest is very important.
And as a parent, be really, really strong on this. And this is not only for smaller or younger kids. This is even for older children. Make sure that they are not staying up 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night. Make sure that there's still a set bedtime. Remember, if they are in your house, you can call the times. So make sure that they do get enough rest. And especially teenagers, they need a lot of sleep. So make sure that they get enough sleep. Otherwise, you're going to have a teenager that's really giving you a hard time.
That's so true. And then with the play part of the need, the rest and play, in today's life, a lot of kids don't have all the time to play. Okay, so we said rest and play is another need of our child. Another one is acknowledgement. That is a need that our children need. Our acknowledgement. They need to know that we recognize and that we see the good things that they are doing. And that is quite something that we need to practice also as parents, because we want to discipline, correct, and grow our kids. Sometimes we think it's better to focus on the bad, but this need can only be fulfilled if we focus on the good. So we want to do that.
So Rita, by this we're not saying just tell them everything that's awesome and over motivate them. Okay, we're saying it helps to have a good balance. Everything at the end of the day boils down to balance. So make sure that you do tell them what they need to work on, that you do discipline them, but that you also focus on what they are doing well.
Yes, The last thing I just want to mention also that's a need in our children and everyone is family time. We need to make every effort to have family time. So have family traditions, your own family traditions. I think we spoke about that in previous episodes also,
Yes, yeah.
is have a family night once a week or once a month, and then have a intentional relationship building time, if I can say like that.
Whether you are playing ball games or board games,
Yeah.
or if you are just watching movies together, whatever the idea, make it even a nice experience where everybody gets in.
Yeah, and also to be intentional in your relationship building. A nice thing to do is to also take your children one by one and make time with them. So not the family setting is very good, but also make an intentional time where you take one child and you focus just on them.
So when you do all these things, coming in with some discipline and that won't be a problem. And it makes it very easy to cut those manipulation strings and get it sorted. Now, Rita, let's just go on to the second point of how to cut these strings.
Yeah, you know what I've seen, Yaku? The second one is use better communication. And I want to say that is something that we need to really work on. And that's something that maybe one of you are really good at that. Your communication skills are just brilliant, you know. And I've seen it just in the two of us where Yaku is so good at it. He would go and he would take the children and he would put them down and he will communicate in detail, because that's his temperament, what is expected of them and how everything is going to work. And where many times I will just I will do it in the run, you know, this is what's going to happen and this is a come, let's do, you know, because that's my temperament, that's how I work. But we have to grow in this, and because he's strong at it, I allow him to take that control and clearly communicate. But I still need to develop. So we discuss rules not in the punishment moment, but before the time, in a calm setting.
Yes.
So that is good communication, better communication. Then we do not make big decisions when there's pressure in our family. We're not gonna, you know, maybe somebody in your family very close just passed away, and there's a, you know, there's just a heaviness a little bit, and so we don't need to make big decisions like where we're gonna have holiday, whatever big decision we need to make. And then the last one is have a monthly family meeting where you open it up for your children to also give suggestions for rules or routines, so that they can learn that their voice also counts, and they don't need to manipulate you to get you to listen to them. So open discussion for them to be part of.
I'm just hearing the voices of so many parents listening to this and saying, okay, just how many meetings do we need? And I need to do this and that and the next thing. And I want to say, once you get into this, parents, it's so easy and it makes life much easier. So I want to say, make sure you basically schedule it in your diary. You know, we schedule meetings for everything, especially if your boss asks you to do something. But let's start scheduling for our family. Because that's actually one of the most important areas of our lives. So get yourself a diary, a family diary, and this can be digital or it can be a physical printed one. However it is, so that everybody can see what's going on, and start scheduling different times and situations. If you have teenage children, it might be easier digitally, so that they can not schedule things when they are, or schedule meetings with their friends in the time when you are having family meetings. So make sure that you schedule some of these things, and you'll see. It's much easier.
Yeah, I'm just thinking while you speak, Yaku, is we actually have this app that we call Cozy. Maybe many of you know about it, but it's like a family app where you can use it to schedule everybody's program for the day, for the week, for the month.
Yes.
And it sounds very structured, but if we want to really build towards something, or we want to really grow our family, we're going to have to put a little bit of structure.
Everything that's measured grows.
Yes.
So
yes.
let's measure it. Let's make sure that we put some structure in place so that everybody's on the same page. And that is, in essence, good communication.
Yeah. So the last one, number 3, and that is the one where many of us, we can get up and we can do that. And that is just to resist manipulation, because it's evil and we do not want it in our home. And the word says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. Draw close to God and he will draw close to you. So we need to explain to our kids that our natural will, what we want to do naturally, is sometimes dangerous. Okay, so even in this resisting, we need to explain to them what is resisting and how they can even resist it. And it's going to be with a little bit of effort, but also get them to pray with you. Say, we are going to pray together as a family, and we're going to resist this evil in our home, and we're going to welcome back the Holy Spirit into our parenting journey.
Yes, yeah. And I want to thank you, Rita. I think this was just brilliant. And I think every parent listening to this, I want to tell you this. We are going to get rid of manipulation like never before. It's going to be out of our families. It's going to be out of our relationships with our children and with our spouses. And we are going to win. We're going to have awesome families because we are not taking anything through the back door anymore. We are taking it through the front door, and we are going to have God in our houses. And so this is exciting. I think this is awesome, Rita, and I want to encourage each parent there. You are empowered by just knowing this, by just knowing that manipulation is something that is evil, and now I believe we know how to stand up against it.
Yes.
So send us an email, send us a message, and tell us how this has influenced you and your family. And we are looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, so just a little bit of a teaser for next week.
I love teasers.
It's just we're going to focus a little bit more again on the temperament of your child, and maybe of you as a parent as well. So what I saw this week, I actually looked, and in our garden we have a rose bush that wasn't really taken care of, and it really grew wild, and the thorns are really wild. And what happened is recently we've just put a stick in there and we just tied it together, and for the first time in 4 years this rose bush actually has roses on.
And beautiful too.
I actually want to cry when I think of it, Jaco, because you know how beautiful it is. It just showed me exactly when it comes to the temperaments. If I just leave that little rose bush of mine just to grow wild, and that's just who they are, that's just how they do life, it actually grows more thorns and it destroys the rest of the garden. But if we make an effort, and I must say, I didn't make a lot of effort, just putting a stick in, but I did just something small. This rose bush is actually giving so many beautiful, pink, soft roses, and it's so exciting. So next week, we're just going to speak a little bit on your tree type, the tree type you have in your home, and are we blossoming them in this time? See you there next week.
This is good. We're going to win. We're going to win. Be blessed.